Have you ever wondered what really lives in the deep, dark water long after the sun goes down? Not fish, not silence, something else. When the moonlight hits a flat, black ocean at 3 in the morning, certain things rise to the surface that were never supposed to be there again. The groan of old timber that shouldn't still be floating, sails torn to ribbons, catching wind they have no right to catch, and a silence so complete it feels like a scream. Because that ship out there on the horizon, it isn't crewed by the living. Everyone has heard of Davy Jones Locker, the sailor's grave at the bottom of the sea, but almost no one has heard the truth about the vessels that never made it down there, the ones that got stuck in between. We call them ghost ships, hulls that refuse to sink and refuse to be found, drifting through centuries of maritime record with no living hand on the wheel. Tonight, we are not just telling you a legend, we are opening the case files. Real ships, real disappearances, real bodies, or worse, no bodies at all. This is the abyss, and its ghosts do not rest. Before we drop anchor in these waters, if unexplained maritime mysteries and the darker corners of pirate history keep you up at night the way they keep us up making these videos, hit that subscribe button and ring the bell, because the fleet is growing. And every ghost ship we uncover leads us straight to the next one. Our first case is the one every maritime historian returns to because it refuses to make sense, no matter how many times you examine it. On December 5th, 1872, the crew of the British brig Dei Gracia spotted a ship drifting erratically about 400 miles from the Azores. Her sails were partially set, some torn, and she was listing slightly, but she was not sinking. Her name was the Mary Celeste, and less than a month earlier, she had departed New York bound for Genoa, Italy, carrying 1,700 barrels of raw alcohol. When the boarding party climbed aboard, they found a ship that looked as though its crew had vanished mid-breath. The captain's cabin held his charts, his personal papers, and even a sewing machine with a child's dress still under the needle. There was food that had barely been touched. A 6-month supply of provisions remained sealed below deck. The ship's only lifeboat was missing, and the navigational instruments, along with the captain's logbook, had been taken. Yet there was no sign of struggle, no blood, no broken furniture, nothing that suggested piracy, mutiny, or violence of any kind. 10 people had been aboard the Mary Celeste when she left New York. Captain Benjamin Briggs, his wife, their 2-year-old daughter, and a crew of 7 experienced sailors. Every single one of them was gone. Not a single body was ever recovered. Not a single confirmed sighting was ever made again. For over 150 years, theories have piled on top of theories. Some investigators point to a buildup of alcohol fumes from the cargo, which may have convinced the captain the ship was about to explode, prompting an evacuation into the lifeboat that never survived the open Atlantic. Others whisper about something stranger, an encounter that left the ship physically intact but stripped it entirely of life. Here's the detail that keeps investigators awake at night. The last log entry was dated 10 days before the ship was found, yet the weather during that window had been calm. 10 days of empty ocean, a fully stocked ship, and not one soul left standing at the wheel. If they abandoned ship in a panic, why take the time to gather navigational instruments? And if it wasn't panic, then what or who convinced 10 people to step off a perfectly seaworthy vessel and into open water, never to be seen again? If the Mary Celeste is the mystery that refuses to close, the Flying Dutchman is the legend that refuses to die. The story dates back to the late 17th century, tied to a Dutch East India Company captain, most often named as Hendrik van der Decken. Sailing home around the Cape of Good Hope, his ship was caught in a violent storm that his crew begged him to wait out in a safe harbor. Captain van der Decken refused. Some versions say he cursed God himself, swearing he would round that cape even if it took him until Judgment Day. The sea, according to legend, took him at his word. The Flying Dutchman and her crew were condemned to sail those same waters forever, never making port, never reaching land, never dying, and never truly living. To this day, sailors along shipping routes near the Cape of Good Hope report a ghostly vessel glowing faintly on the horizon during storms, sails glowing an eerie red, visible for only seconds before vanishing into the black water. According to maritime folklore, to see the Flying Dutchman is not just an unsettling experience, it is a death omen. Sailors who claimed to witness her were said to meet disaster shortly after, drowning, shipwreck, or simply disappearing at sea themselves. What makes this legend different from a simple campfire story is how many separate, credible witnesses insisted they saw something. In 1881, the future King George V of England, then a young naval cadet aboard HMS Bacchante, recorded in the ship's log that he and several crew members witnessed a strange glowing ship crossing their bow before it vanished without a trace. Hours later, the sailor who first spotted it fell from the rigging and died. Naval officers, not superstitious fishermen, but trained Royal Navy men, wrote this account into an official ship's log. Was it a mirage caused by an atmospheric phenomenon known as Fata Morgana, bending light across the horizon into the shape of a ship? Or did 3 centuries of storms preserve something out there that was never meant to make landfall again? In June 1947, radio operators across the Strait of Malacca picked up a chilling series of transmissions in Morse code from a Dutch merchant vessel called the SS Ourang Medan. The message read in fragments: "All officers, including the captain, are dead, lying in chart room and bridge, possibly whole crew dead." Then, silence for a moment before one final, almost incoherent line came through: "I die." 2 American ships, the Silver Star and the City of Baltimore, picked up the distress calls and raced toward the reported coordinates. When a boarding crew finally reached the Ourang Medan, what they found has haunted maritime folklore ever since. Every member of the crew was dead, sprawled across the deck, the bridge, even the radio room. Witnesses described their faces frozen in expressions of sheer terror, mouths open as if still screaming, arms raised as though warding something off. The ship's dog was reportedly found dead as well, in the same contorted posture. There were no visible wounds, no blood, no obvious cause of death. Before the American sailors could investigate further or even attempt to tow the ship to port, smoke was seen rising from the cargo hold. Within minutes, the Ourang Medan exploded and sank, taking every physical trace of evidence to the ocean floor along with her. No official salvage record exists. No definitive registry confirms the ship even existed under that name. Some researchers argue the entire case is maritime legend, dressed up as a shipping news story. Others insist that leaking toxic gas, potentially from an illegal cargo of nitroglycerin or other volatile chemicals, killed the crew almost instantly. Their frozen expressions, the final agony of oxygen deprivation. But if it truly was something as mundane as a chemical leak, why has no wreck, no manifest, and no verified crew list ever surfaced in 70+ years? The ocean, it seems, buried this one twice, once beneath the water and once beneath the doubt. Some ghost ships appear once and vanish into legend. The Lady Lovibond is said to appear on a schedule. According to maritime folklore along the English coast, this 3-masted schooner wrecked on the treacherous Goodwin Sands on February 13, 1748, allegedly after her jealous first mate deliberately steered her into the shoals to kill the captain and his new bride, who was aboard celebrating their wedding. Every soul on board was lost. The story might have faded into ordinary shipwreck history, except for what sailors began reporting exactly 50 years later. In 1798, fishermen along the same stretch of coast claimed to see a 3-masted schooner matching her description, sails full, running straight toward the Goodwin Sands before disappearing entirely, as though the wreck were replaying itself. The pattern allegedly repeated again in 1848 and again in 1898, always on the same February date, always 50 years apart. Some crews swore they heard music and celebration drifting across the water in the moments before the ship vanished, an echo of a wedding party that never got to finish its first dance. Whether you believe in 50-year cycles or not, the detail that unsettles researchers most is how consistently separate, unconnected witnesses across 3 different centuries described the exact same ship doing the exact same thing in the exact same place. Not every ghost ship legend comes from European sailors. Along the coast of Chiloe Island in southern Chile, fishermen have told stories for generations about a ghostly ship called the Caleuche. Unlike the wrecks we've covered so far, this vessel is described as brilliantly lit, gliding silently across the water at night, fully rigged, playing music, and hosting what looks like an endless party on deck. According to local legend, the Caleuche collects the souls of those who drown at sea, giving them a strange afterlife aboard her decks, dancing forever beneath sails no wind seems to move. Fishermen claim the ship can submerge instantly and vanish the moment it's spotted by outsiders, and that anyone who witnesses it and tells others will be cursed with illness or paralysis of the face. Local sailors along that coastline still refuse to fish in certain waters after dark, not out of tradition alone, but because too many of them, or people they trust, insist they've seen those lights glowing just beneath the surface, moving against the current, going nowhere, and belonging to no living crew. You might assume that satellites, GPS transponders, and modern maritime law made ghost ships a thing of the past. The ocean disagrees. In 1955, the MV Joyita, a 69-foot motor vessel, departed Samoa for the Tokelau Islands with 25 people aboard. She never arrived. 5 weeks later, she was found adrift over 600 miles off course, half submerged, her engine room flooded, and every single person aboard gone without explanation. The ship was equipped with enough safety gear to keep dozens of people afloat, yet not one body, alive or dead, was ever recovered. Then there is the SS Baychimo, a cargo steamer that became trapped in Arctic ice off the coast of Alaska in 1931. The crew abandoned her, expecting the ice to crush the hull. Instead, the Baychimo broke free and kept drifting, alone, unmanned for nearly 40 years. She was spotted repeatedly by Inuit hunters, fishermen, and passing ships all the way into the 1960s, an empty derelict wandering the Arctic seas long after everyone assumed she was gone. To this day, her final resting place has never been confirmed, and in 2006, a Taiwanese fishing vessel called the High Aim 6 was discovered drifting in the South Pacific, completely abandoned. Investigators found rotting fish still in the hold and no sign of a struggle, yet all 11 crew members had disappeared without a trace. GPS, satellite phones, emergency beacons, none of it stopped these ships from becoming exactly what sailors 300 years ago feared most. Vessels that keep moving long after the people who should be steering them are gone. Perhaps the strangest recent case involves the Kaz 2, a catamaran found drifting off the coast of Australia in 2007. Her engine was still running, her sails were up and functioning normally. A laptop sat open on the table and a meal had been set out, untouched. All 3 men who had set sail on her were gone, and despite an extensive search, no trace of them was ever found. Investigators later theorized that one one man may have fallen overboard, and the other two died attempting a rescue, but no bodies were ever recovered to confirm it. In every one of these modern cases, the technology that was supposed to make disappearance at sea impossible simply became another silent witness to something it couldn't explain. Strip away the campfire embellishments and what remains is still deeply unsettling. Ships found intact with no crew, radio transmissions describing horror with no survivors left to explain it, vessels that drift for decades as if the ocean itself refuses to let them rest. The sea has never simply been a body of water. It is the largest unmarked graveyard on Earth, and it does not give up its dead easily or its secrets. Davy Jones Locker was never just a sailor's superstition about drowning. It was, and still is, a warning passed from one generation of sailors to the next. Respect the water, because the water does not forget, and it does not explain itself. Somewhere out there, right now, in the dark between the waves, something is still drifting. So tell us in the comments, which of these ghost ships unsettled you the most? The untouched silence of the Mary Celeste, the eternal curse of the Flying Dutchman, or the screams that ended aboard the Ourang Medan? And if you want more voyages into the forgotten and the unexplained, subscribe and join the crew, because the abyss always has one more story waiting.